Traitor Trump is up with his first political ad for 2024, and guess who he's trying to buddy up to?
As commander-in-chief, he always had his soldiers' backs.
Wait, what? This Donald Trump? The one who called service members losers and said the fallen were suckers for not dodging the draft like he did? The one who never understood service and sacrifice?
I like people that weren't captured, okay?
And mocked a veteran who'd been wounded in war?
Was always there to support them and their families.
Except when he shut down the government and put military pay at risk.
And to never forget about them after they served.
No, Donald Trump tried to cut VA staff veterans count on. Trump has mocked the military his whole life. We can't let him win again.
He always had his soldiers' backs.
Oh, and next time you address a Marine, don't call him a soldier.
Hey, welcome back to the show. My name is Jeremy Baker. With me, of course, is Mike Falino. What's going on, Mike?
I'm just trying to process Donald Trump as the great military stalwart that we all know him as.
Yeah. You know how he is so pro-military. We'll get into that. Anyway, as the title suggests, today's episode is going to be all about the military, veterans, their treatment or lack of treatment, as well as a hot topic in transgenderism in the military. But before we get into all of our topics, we do have a special guest today. Mike, if you would please go ahead and introduce her.
Absolutely. Today, our guest, I'm pretty excited for because we've been wanting to do a conversation about these topics for a while, and this is the perfect person. She has dedicated her life to serving her country, both in the U.S. Navy and by volunteering within the LGBTQ plus community. She does a ton of work now, specifically with Defensive Democracy as their commander of veterans defending democracy. So please welcome Diana Patton.
Hi, thank you.
What's going on, Diana? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I think this is our second attempt. Last time you were not feeling well, so we had to do the show without you, unfortunately. But I'm glad we actually got you back on. I'm actually glad we got you on by yourself.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
It happens.
That is literally nothing to ever apologize for.
No, right? But I'm actually glad we're doing a show all about the military and veterans. You're a vet, I'm a vet, and I grew up in the military. I spent the first 15 years of my life in the U.S. Army. I traveled to different countries. I watched my father go to war. I watched my father luckily return from war. And a lot of my core memories are in the growing up in the military. Some of my favorite times of my life were getting into a lot of trouble in military bases as kids with no internet. We didn't have internet back then, so we just ran around and did dumb shit. Yeah, we actually caused trouble. I'm a Gen Xer, so and I was also a skater, so we were the ones that raised hell. But like I said, welcome to the show. I'm glad you are here. When did you serve in the military? What branch were you in?
U.S. Navy from September of 1992 to September 20th, 1995.
Man,
did you have? I think you said before the show you had a positive. You describe your experience overall as positive in the military.
Yes, except for my short time on Med Hold in Washington D.C. I got honorable discharge under medical conditions due to PTSD.
Honorable discharge, okay.
Honorable, yes.
That's going to come into play later because dishonorable discharge does not only mean what I used to think it means. It is not exactly my favorite term anymore, but we'll get into that.
Yes.
No, you have to do some pretty bad things to get a dishonorable discharge because there's
not
other
necessarily.
levels.
Well,
no.
What I would think is a dishonorable discharge. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think that I'd like to talk about the military is because we have a potential leader, Führer, if you would call it, is a more appropriate term, that has no respect for the military, does not know what it's like to serve. Because when you serve in the military, you sign a contract. You are no longer a person. You're military property, and you do what they tell you to do. And that's what service is all about. And you don't do it for the money because the pay was, I don't know what it is now, but when I went in, it was like $1,200 a month for an E3 living on base. You know what I mean? You don't do military service for the cash. You do it because you want to be part of something bigger. Some people do it because they're trying to get away from trouble. They do it for various reasons. But I hate that we have a leader who people look to. They want to give this guy military codes.
Again,
And he died. He's never served. He doesn't know anything about service. He's all about me,
and
me,
he
and me.
stole military secrets.
Yep.
Possibly even traded them.
Oh, well, that's
Possibly.
a whole show, but yes,
We don't know.
Allegedly.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
no, yeah.
I've always believed, since I didn't come from a military family. I have both grandfathers who served in 2 different wars. I never had the inkling for service, but I can't say that I didn't want to always give back to society. So, like, I'm one of those
Different
people that
types
think
of service.
exactly. I've always believed that there's a way for this country to instill the idea of selflessness and service,
Right.
maybe not just through military service, but through different types of ways.
Even doing charity work or
charity
activism work like Diana does. That's
Yeah,
service. You know what I
exactly.
mean? Just being part of
So,
something bigger, trying to benefit the greater good.
and I think that's what the
service
point of
is.
a president is, or anyone who takes an oath of office is. You may not give yourself over and depersonalize yourself as much as someone who joins the military, but your oath, when you take that oath of office, is to give yourself over to your constituents and the people that you vow to protect and do right by, which is why someone like a Donald Trump, who said that constitutional oath he took, he really didn't take an oath, right? That's someone who doesn't even respect the word that he gives or they give. And I think that's important in the idea of service. Diana, I think someone who has to be committed to serving in the military has to believe what they're doing and what they're fighting for is correct. And you said you did at one point. Is that still true?
Yes, I you'll understand this, Jimmy. When we take our oath in the service, that oath is for life. You don't turn your back on that oath. Now, there's a lot of people who do, and a lot of the times the veterans you see that are the loudest don't represent the most of us, because we take our oath very seriously.
Right.
That's important.
And we don't even have to like the people that we're protecting and defending.
Nope.
But it's our job to protect it. Like, I'm totally against flag burning, yet I have to protect that right because it's shown as a constitutional right.
It's funny how you could make that distinction, but there's a whole swath of people who can't seem to understand that just because you have differences of opinions, you have to agree on the rights and liberties that we all enjoy. And that seems to be
I've kneeled
something a
with
lot of people
football
can't.
players before. I've kneeled with them during the national anthem.
Yep.
And I have trouble getting up and down. So, but because that's a right, and it was a veteran who said that, I believe in that. So that is an American right.
Now, tell us some of the work you do and how you got involved with Defensive Democracy, because we did have Karen and we did have another volunteer, and I'm so sorry, I'm going to forget her name. I believe she's from Oklahoma. That was on a previous episode. So how did you get involved with them, and what do you do for them?
Well, I've been an activist in the LGBT community for 10, 12 years, ever since I came out. And I ran the Spectrum Transgender Group of Western New York. I was the chair for that, co-chair for that. And then I created the We Exist Coalition. And we pretty much were in 3 different cities with some other transgender people. And then I took a break just before COVID. And during COVID, I was contacted by a few of the people that tracked me down and knew about what was going on in the schools, because we were getting attacked by, I don't know, you know about the angry gym owner, Robbie De Niro, who was on Fox News tearing up his fine from,
I remember that,
from trying to open. And then we had a person named Jackie Best attacking Hamburg schools. So I got contacted for that. So I like to find out what's going on. So I'm trying, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So I started looking to see who else is going up against these people. while I was doing that, Jackie Best when she lost the election, she started a chapter of Moms for Liberty. So I started looking into Moms for Liberty and
we
who's
love
fighting them. And I found Stop Moms for Liberty and Liz
well,
out of Florida.
we do a lot of work with Liz as well, actually. Yeah,
Liz is awesome.
Yes, she is.
She was just starting out at that time, and she said, well, you have Defense of Democracy right there in New York. Why don't you give Karen a call? So she gave me her number. I contacted Karen. I said, what can I do to help and get people involved? And I was already starting to teach some classes on how to get involved in a group that was called, what did they call us? Chardonnay Antifa here in Hamburg. So
that's great.
As a bunch of people, and we had a few Tweety birds on some school boards that were letting us know what was going on, both behind the scenes and at these school boards. So I got involved with Defense of Democracy, became a chair for Western New York, and I told Karen, why don't you, these people are using patriotism. Why don't we start a veterans group?
Absolutely.
And she said, that's awesome. So we started the veterans group, and I started getting that going. And because of my experience with organizing protests and everything, we had the Philadelphia protest coming up. So I started doing trainings. I put together an hour-long training on how to do a protest training, peaceful protest training. Nice. Everything you need to know.
That's
getting permits. What do you need a permit? Do you not need a permit? What you do not need a permit. But it's always a good idea to have one. It's like an insurance policy.
Right?
They're going to ask.
That's all it is. So, but they can't deny you to protest. Now, different states, different laws, different counties, different laws.
Yeah.
But they cannot deny you because it's a constitutional right. So I do all that training. I also used to do a little bit on internet safety because I did get a degree in computer forensics and economics crime investigation. So I understand what when people are attacking you online, what to look for and what kind of a risk assessment is it. So I do that. Plus, of course, my activism and advocacy. I'm also usually on the phone with someone who's worried about something.
Man, it's really interesting. You said specifically the whole patriotism thing. Jeremy and I blather on about the theft of patriotic iconography or concepts such as the flag, patriotism. They co-opted these words or stole these words in an attempt to blanket fascism with the American flag. So to see that you specifically are motivated by taking back patriotism for all Americans, I find myself wondering, do you consider that like the next part of your service journey?
I hate the word patriot now. I hate it.
I know.
I think the people. Well, when I was younger and in the service and back in my bar hopping days, and I always hung around with older folks and a lot of older veterans when I was actively involved with the American Legion. People who actually had and earned medals would say, I don't use the word patriot because patriots are just chest thumpers. They love their country blindly without questioning anything, and they love to beat their chest and show how tough they are, and they're usually the first ones to run from a fight.
Yep. It's just empty nationalism.
Even the biker community used to see those people as a joke. And now that's being brought up again as a thing. You're a patriot or you're against the country. And that's not true.
That's not.
Most people with patriotism love their country and want to change it for the better, which is the whole principle and founding of our country. Even though it was a horrible start,
I would like to think.
Our job is to move forward. That's why our Constitution is written in pencil.
Thank you. The whole idea that we're supposed to look at this founding document so long ago as static when it was specifically written as a living, breathing, evolving document is like very hard for certain groups of people to comprehend.
You can't change the Constitution. What's an amendment?
Amendment.
I know, right. Well, that's called an amendment. That's a change
You
to the
can't change
Constitution.
the Second Amendment. Yeah, you can.
You can.
You
That's
can
how it
amend
works.
an amendment.
It's hard to
believe
do,
it or
but you
not.
can.
We literally
You
have
can-
amendments
yeah.
to cancel amendments. That's actually
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you talk about this patriotism as a concept and the word patriot. Let's separate that from service, because I think it is obviously different. And one thing that you are really putting your heart into is making sure people who serve get what they are owed for the
Yes.
sacrifices they've made. And
Right.
a lot of the work with that is actually from something called the Restoration of Honor Act, something that I never knew about until we started talking to get ready for this show.
Yeah, me too.
So, what was that, Jeremy?
No, I was gonna say I agree. I had not known about this.
Yeah. So-
this is only for
Yeah.
New York, though.
I learned a couple of things that made me unhappy about the state of our country, which, yes, there are still things to shock me and disappoint me. So the Restoration of Honor Act, simply put, did you serve in the U.S. military and receive an other than honorable or general discharge? And I'm going to stop there because I didn't know that there was such a thing as a dishonorable discharge that might be a shitty reason to let someone go. And the reason I say that is because apparently this act gives veterans discharged for bigoted and ignorant reasons access to benefits they earned. That is terrifying to me because I assumed you just earn your benefits and that's it, unless you get a dishonorable discharge, which I thought was just for very particular reasons. So it looks like the Restoration of Honor Act in 2019 was signed into law in New York State only, as of now, and it authorizes the restoration of access to state veterans benefits to veterans who have other than honorable discharges. Now, eligibility, this is what kind of blew my mind. Other than honorable discharge doesn't mean you just went AWOL or you did something bad. It could mean you were let go from the military for post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, often due to service, military sexual trauma, sexual orientation, which we all know, but we'll get more into that, and gender identity. So basically, you don't fit into this little package of what a soldier is. Get out, and we're taking your benefits. Is that accurate?
What would happen is let's say we'll use sexual orientation because everyone knows don't ask, don't tell.
Yep.
Can't serve if you're gay. So let's say if you were found out that you were gay during don't ask, don't tell, you didn't tell anyone, but you were found out.
Yep.
Well, chain of command doesn't like you, and they either push you to screw up or they'd watch everything you did, and you have one little infraction, like maybe you were 5 minutes late to showing up for roll call or something. They would get you on the Uniform Code of Military Justice, write you up for all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Just keep battering you with stuff until you'd lose your mind.
So torture
and actually go AWOL or do something else, and then you get a dishonorable discharge.
Because I actually got out. My discharge is general under honorable circumstances, and like I told you before the show, and this is a really weird
I can help
scenario.
you change that.
Can you really? Because I would like
that,
to change that because I got put with the most idiotic, racist, bigoted rednecks that you could ever possibly imagine. And they made my life hell.
Just because you
I
were
wasn't
not a
racist,
you can actually
idiot,
change a general
redneck.
discharge 6 months after you're out. You have to contact your congressman.
I thought so, but I just never bothered because if you're not honorably discharged, you have no benefits whatsoever. Nada. You know what I mean? So, but here, you were talking about the don't ask, don't tell. Let me go over this overlay that I made. So since 2011, openly gay, lesbian, and bisexual men and women have been permitted to serve in the military. Acceptance for the LGBTQ and the military expanded with the lifting of the transgender ban in 2021.
Which was put in under Trump.
Exactly. Yep. Still, some LGBTQ service members may worry about living openly. They may fear being harassed and passed over for assignments or promotions, which can happen. While acceptance of LGBTQ service members is relatively new development in the military's long history, the Department of Defense is committed to maintaining a strong force that reflects the nation's diversity.
The whole point there is that the long history of the military doesn't mean that there were never queer people in it. It just means they had to keep their mouths shut.
One of the,
Right.
interesting thing about trans people, and I found a research paper years ago. I haven't been able to track it down since, but it was one of those transgender surveys, and it found that this is about 10 years ago, trans people over the age of 35, 47% tend to be veterans.
Oh my God.
No
So
kidding.
it's a little less than half of the percentage of older trans people
Jesus.
tend to be veterans. And they came about two reasons why. One reason is you become very, like for trans women, you become very hyper masculine. Or if you're a trans man, you tend to gravitate towards hyper masculinity. So military service. The other one was because everyone wears the same uniform, that gender dysphoria goes away.
Holy.
I was getting ready to say it. Like, everybody looks the same in camouflage, damn it.
And,
So
and that's
it's
the two reasons.
it's like a comfort.
Oh my God, I can't believe
Now, here's a question I would like to ask some of these people. Was entering the service for I don't want to use the word hide, but a comfort situation more than the desire for service? Like, did some of these people feel their only way to fit in or feel secure about themselves was to join the military?
It didn't go too much into that research, but it was more along the lines of a subconscious type of deal. Like trans women, before they transition, they tend to gravitate towards sports or the bad boy image or biker community, which is what I gravitated to.
Funny.
You know, being very hyper masculine, whatever that looks like to the person, because that's what you're trying to emulate to get rid of the feelings of the feminine side of you that's overwhelming. You just shove it down deep. See, I'm one of those trans people who didn't realize they were trans until later in life, which is a small percentage of us.
Oh yeah,
I always knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was.
I've seen that from so many people that talk about their journeys. It's just something that cis people like myself, Jeremy, it's just something we can never conceive of as being a force that drives us consciously or subconsciously, that also puts us in this state of danger and perplexing fear of almost omnipresent eyes looking on you at all the time. And, you know, you have to watch out for who you are, where you are, when you are. And I just never considered that. The military, that makes a lot of sense. But
here's something you can try. Try to reenact weird science and put a bra on your head. See if it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Oh, that's funny.
I would do it. It would not make me feel uncomfortable.
Well,
one of my favorite movies growing up. I would probably do that just for fun now.
Were you
I'm gonna have to find that movie now and watch it?
Did you assist in getting the Restoration of Honor Act through, or was Defensive Democracy working with that, or is this just something?
No, this is something separate. It's what the New York State Veterans Commission, which I'm also a part of that as well. Because of the work I do in the LGBT community and the fact that I do transgender, I teach issues about transgender people with the VA here in Buffalo, and I've done it for businesses, human resources for businesses. I've talked at all the colleges in Western New York. I do a lot of public speaking on this, and even at the Catholic college that I went to, Hilbert, that was the first time I did one, and they're very open-minded there. I love Hilbert. And so I became a keynote speaker out in Plattsburgh, New York, which is like 6 hours away.
Yep. That's
wow.
And I was their first keynote speaker, first or second. And someone was there from the New York State Commission, and they contacted me and say, hey, do you want to be on the New York State Veterans Commission? And it went through Governor Cuomo and then Kathy Hochul. And you have this big background check and everything. And that's how I got on that. One of the first things that got put forward was the Restoration of Honor Act.
That's so cool.
All right, so we have got to unfortunately move on to the next topic.
I apologize. Every story is long.
Oh no,
no, trust me. We could sit here and just talk all day.
I'm the referee of the show. Don't worry.
Yeah, he is.
Keep me reeled in because I can wander fast.
Well, we're still talking about local events here because I want to talk about a little bit the local American Legion you were talking about. That tell us what's going on with
Oh
that.
yeah, we have a bit of an overlay for that. So you
The-
mentioned someone in particular who might be pulling some shenanigans here.
Yes, Nancy Orticelli with the Constitutional Coalition of New York State, which they're not actually all through New York State. They're basically just here in Western New York.
Okay.
They're holding their meetings at the Ray Donovan Post here in, I believe it's West Seneca, Cheektowaga. I think it's 1426. Don't quote me on the post number.
It's
I think
1626. I don't know why I have that information, but I do.
Yes. I believe I sent it to you.
That's pretty good, Mike.
My memory's not as good as it used to be, but they're holding their meetings there, which is against the bylaws of the American Legion. Because they're a political action committee. That's what they are. They're also listed by the Southern Poverty Law Center as an anti-government, anti-LGBT group.
Yeah.
They speak constantly about stuff about, you know, they deny the election, the 2020 election. They helped get people to January. Well, I shouldn't say that. Allegedly, they helped people go to January 6th.
Oh,
they're attached to people. They're attached to two of the people that actually got arrested.
I'm tired of saying allegedly.
Yeah. The bald guy that was lighting the video equipment on, they were attached to him, but as soon as he got arrested, they totally separated themselves.
Yeah,
of course.
Nancy's husband was attached to the Watchman. There's actually a picture of him wearing a Watchman shirt, and they're attached, of course, to the Proud Boys. So they're attached to all these bad groups, which is totally against the veterans bylaws. Now the veterans, you know, the American Legion bylaws, not veterans bylaws, American Legion bylaws, and their nonprofit status is even more than, you know, the regular RE3 or whatever the code is. They're even more stringent. Wow. So they can't have anything to do with politics. Now they can have politicians come and speak there about veterans benefits or if they're,
but not like electioneering.
But they can't have political groups at that do a political ideology at their posts. Now the other thing is, like in the picture you just had up, Nancy has a band, and that band's been being hired by a lot of these American Legions that are in the very outskirts in the county, which also tend to have a lot of conservative ideologies.
So someone's making money off of this.
Someone's getting money too. And now David DiPetro has spoken many times at this post at their meetings. And it's an awful thing. And I've made their radio show a couple times because they do have a radio show here that's usually on Mondays, and you can watch it on their Facebook page. It's, if you ever want a good laugh, go to it. They don't have very many people watching. But they tried to call my I have a grandfather who served during World War II, and I tracked down his military record, and he was POW twice.
God.
He escaped
twice.
Well, POW 3 times. Sorry. I believe it was
three times. Jeez.
Yes, he was injured twice. And if you know anything about World War II, back then, if you got injured, it was okay to be captured to get healed, and then it was your job to escape and get back to front lines. It was normal. It was normal for the Germans, and it was normal for our guys.
I kind of respect that.
And he escaped twice. Once he got his knee shot, and another time he got some shrapnel. And the last time he didn't escape, the POW camp was rescued.
Got it.
So that was his military record. And funny story is, one of the ways and I only learned this through his military record, is that Germans wouldn't go and go into if a prostitute was having sex with someone. So a lot of our GIs escaped through brothels.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
And he actually supposedly did that. That's
So
a thing that kind of went through with my grandmother, but I don't know if it's true or not.
just one
That's a
more
good family
thing.
story.
One more thing
Yeah,
to thank
family
women
story.
for.
Yeah,
So-
actually, my mom is part of World War II, but kind of on the other side. She was born during World War II, and was an orphan and adopted by a nurse at a hospital as a result of the
That's
German
crazy.
invasion. So yeah, I
Well,
like I said, I do a lot of World War II history. I love World War II.
On their radio show, they called my grandfather traitor because we had an incident here in Hamburg. Hamburg started putting up the pride flag year before last, and all that was on the flagpole was the American flag. So right after they put up the pride flag, another American Legion, not the one that Nancy's associated with, the one here in Hamburg, the one that I used to belong to, decided to put up the POW flag and have it up there all year round. Well, that's not required to, but I believe it should go up the 7 times during the year. But under Trump, he changed that, and state and federal buildings have to have the POW flag fly all year. So they basically did this to cause controversy this year. So we had a bunch of high school kids. We're putting up the pride flag. Flag comes down. Now, I've done color guard for many years. I did it for Erie County. I did it while I was in the service. You never, ever put up a tattered flag.
Nope.
Period. So they brought down the POW flag. Now, of course, that came from the local VFW. So they didn't have another one to put up. So it comes down. I noticed that the one corner is absolutely frayed. Said, you can't put this back up. You'll get crucified by other veterans. He said, that's no problem. We're ordering another one. And of course, we're in the middle of doing the ceremony. So he put up the pride flag. Well, the American Legion raises holy hell. A veteran that was there from the VFW, who happened to be the past commander of that VFW, 1419, he comes charging over towards me, and the supervisor, Randy Hope, gets in the way and starts talking to him very kindly, very quietly. But I hear him screaming and yelling. I stand up, and I said, who the hell are you? Why the hell are you here? You know, my temper got out of control, and it's very hard for me to lose my temper. But when you're like this in front of kids, swearing and everything, so who the hell do you think you are? And his wife comes over and says, you took down the POW flag and put this shit up. I said, that's because it's going back up. That's what I said. And she goes, well, why isn't it up now? And I said, because it's fucking tattered.
Yeah.
Why don't you freaking ask questions first instead of going off?
I've never
in front of a bunch of kids.
I've never met anyone who understands flag code less than MAGA. It's freaking weird.
And this guy, so the supervisor and him walk off to the side, and he ends up slapping the supervisor. Everyone saw it. And so that started a whole big to-do, because now the supervisor's pressing charges, and the VFW then contacts Constitutional Coalition, who sets up this big thing in front of town hall, when actually by the time they got there, a new POW flag was up and all 3 flags were there.
Wonderful.
You know. And of course, I got threatened a lot for it, because I went on the news and I said the whole reason the flag came down in the first place is because I said it was tattered. And I take responsibility for what, because the town supervisor got all shit on for that. And I was like, no, it was me. I'm the one who did it. The trans veteran said that flag can't go back up. And then I got called a liar and everything else. I said, why the hell would I lie about this? I hang around with a bunch of people who would beat the living crap out of me if I ever did anything wrong with the flag, because I'm a trans person. They would absolutely put me 6 feet under it. And no, I didn't lie. I took responsibility for what I did.
The only people that hate veterans more than MAGA is the GOP.
What I don't understand is MAGA veterans. That makes no sense to me.
Well, let's
we have to consider that there are Trump supporters that are currently serving in the military too. So who are their loyalties? Are they loyal to the United States? Or are they loyal?
We'll find out. Let's talk about the Republicans and their history with veterans.
Actually, Yeah, I was
Well,
going to segue right into
extremists
that.
right now are not supposed to be in the military. Didn't they just pass something about going after extremists in the military, like white supremacists?
I don't
and
know
all
where
that?
that's led to yet.
I
but
believe
yeah.
you're right. We'll have to look more into
And
that.
Nancy better watch out because her daughter just went into the military.
Oh boy.
And I'm not going to say her daughter's name
Nope.
because I believe she's separate and shouldn't be punished for the sins of the
Agreed.
parents.
All right, what do you got,
so let's
Jeremy?
get
What are
into
we up
some
to
of
here?
this. Go ahead if you want to. Actually, you know what? Let me see what videos I have. I guess we can first talk about the PACT Act, which I can't.
Well, should I show the vote on it first? I'll show the
go
vote.
ahead. Go ahead.
So people remember this, and I hope all the other times that Republicans vote against veterans, but this was a time specifically to vote for veterans for health care because of injuries and trauma that they endured and suffered through during their service. And if you look who voted for it and look who voted against it.
Yeah.
Come on.
At least some Republicans had some metaphorical balls and voted for it, but I can't believe they would vote against something like that. Uh-oh, we lost Mike. We lost Mike for a second. Let's see if he hops back on. I'm sure he will. That happens sometimes. The connection gets rough. There
we have it all the time with our meetings.
No, that's okay. We adapt. He's coming back in. There he is.
Happened. My bad.
Oh, it's okay. I was like, oh, we lost him. Man down.
I'm not looking for him.
Yeah, we got him. We got him. So yeah, they voted overwhelmingly against the vote. I mean, Republicans did. But one of the biggest, I think, advocates for the PACT Act, because the PACT Act covers not just the toxic burn pits, but like Agent Orange from people in Vietnam, people that had like Gulf War syndrome from all the shit they were exposed to over there. Like, and the part that pisses me off is this just got passed, last year or the year before?
Yes.
Yep.
So Vietnam veterans would not be able to take advantage of this because they'd be in their damn 70s
Yep,
by now.
And most of them,
the Agent Orange,
gone
shit
now.
my dad was exposed to both Agent Orange in Vietnam, and he was in Desert Storm, so he was exposed to that shit as well, and he died from brain tumor. And there was no history of cancer in my family, really. So, you know what I mean? He all of a sudden, out of nowhere, at 59 years old, started developing cysts in his brain and brain cancer. And but I'm pretty sure it was just because of, but the treatment he got was unbelievably poor. I mean, people that, especially like my dad, served 22 years in 2 wars. You would think somebody like that would get the best treatment possible. But, keep in mind, this is back in like, when did he die? 2011. Like back before like 9/11, the VA was not a good place to go to. Diana could probably vouch for something.
Well,
like,
our VA here in Buffalo is one of the top rated in the country.
Okay, so
we have a good VA here in Buffalo. But I've heard the horror stories all over the country.
Yeah, and I just can't. And it has improved. The veterans treatment has improved. The technology they give them access to. For like people that lose their limbs and stuff during war, I think is fascinating.
Yep.
But at the same time, is it too little, too late for a lot of people? Because like Desert Storm and people from Vietnam are getting, they're in 50s and their 60s and 70s,
and it's very hard to find out what benefits you're actually entitled to or supposed to have or get, because you have to know how to navigate the system.
Networking.
That was a big thing when I became disabled. I didn't know the benefits I had.
Yeah.
And I learned how to do that, and that's how I ended up being able to help other veterans find their benefits.
It's just fascinating how there's no okay, you are no longer serving for whatever reason. Here's who you go to figure out what's next. How do we not have that? We have enough for a $10 million hammer, but we don't have enough to guide our veterans to the health care that they deserve.
This was a video. I'll show this video because I should show a video since the beginning of the show. I skipped like 3 of them. It's okay. This was Jon Stewart and Jack Posobiec.
Love Jon
dipshit is the guy that did the whole Pizzagate conspiracy, which ended up leading somebody to go into a pizza shop with an assault rifle looking for a sex trafficking ring that obviously didn't exist because it's the dumbest fucking thing ever. And these people still listen to him. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system. Anyway,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah, Jon Stewart and Jack got into it about this whole.
Well,
they came to
Jon
an agreement
Stewart got
in the
into
end.
it. Jack just took it.
Yeah,
What was he gonna say?
he's just an arrogant prick. I hope he sees this. Now that we're on Twitter. All right, let me play the video.
Tim, this mother thinks that this bill is bull. And it has a $400 million bill. So you tell him that it's bull. That there's a $400 million port thing in there. You tell them. These people have suffered for 15 years because you're a fucking troll. You're a troll. Not in good faith.
I'm for the bill.
You're not in good faith.
So what's the problem? My question here. My question is,
What are you
John,
trying to do here?
why is John? I'm not even against you guys.
Then what are you doing? Then what are you posting? You're lying. You're lying.
All you do is
You're a liar.
You name
You're a
call
liar.
and you insult.
You haven't been working on this thing
All
for
you do is
years.
call names.
I've been on the
Because I
Hill
was serving
with the
in the military,
Republicans
John.
and with the
I
Democrats.
served.
I don't give a fuck.
I served.
You keep screaming. People
I
don't
know
get it.
I love how he tries to pull rank. I served, yeah, but you're not doing anything with that service except selfish
No.
bullshit.
Not at all. Yeah, you're not doing anything. Yeah, to contribute.
You're self-serving.
I love there's a guy here who has a medal because he did something brave while he was in the service. But anyone who actually really did something good will tell you the only heroes are the ones that didn't come home.
Yep.
But see, here's the thing. We
You know,
talked about
I
this earlier.
still say McCain is a hero because of what he did. But if you talk to John McCain, he wouldn't say he was a hero.
Nope.
But we
He
talked
was
about
all
this
those who
earlier.
didn't. Yeah, that
And that's
exactly.
hero.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like there's different levels of service. So for Jack, whatever his last name is, to say that he
Off.
served
Jack
and Jon
off.
Stewart hasn't served. I mean, Jon Stewart is.
You mean like DeSantis? He was a desk jockey. He was a JAG officer who sat behind a desk, and he's claiming he's a SEAL.
Yep.
I know, right? So Jon Stewart, in my mind, has done more for the military community than this Jack Posobiec could ever possibly imagine. You know what I mean? But then there was a very, I guess, not violent reaction, but Jon Stewart was not happy. Apparently, everybody agreed on this PACT Act, and then for political vengeance, like they were mad because somebody voted a certain way, so they're like, you know what, we're not going to vote for this. We're just not going to vote for it.
Fuck the
And
vets.
that's why
We
they
didn't
turned it
get what
down.
we wanted. That's what they're saying.
Because
Exactly.
it was considered a Democrat bill.
Yeah, exactly. So let me show Jon Stewart's reaction to that. I just like his reaction. It's like a minute and a half long, but it's
June
worth it.
16th, they passed the PACT Act. 84 to 14. You don't even see those scores in the Senate anymore. They passed it. Every one of these individuals that has been fighting for years, standing on the shoulders of Vietnam veterans who have been fighting for years, standing on the shoulders of Persian Gulf War veterans fighting for years, Desert Storm veterans, to just get the health care and benefits that they earned from their service. And I don't care if they were fighting for our freedom. I don't care if they were fighting for the flag. I don't care if they were fighting because they wanted to get out of a drug treatment center or it was jail or the army. I don't give a shit. They lived up to their oath. And yesterday, they spit on it in abject cruelty. These people thought they could finally breathe. You think their struggles end because the PACT Act passes? All it means is they don't have to decide between their cancer drugs and their house. Their struggle continues.
This bill does a lot more than just give us health care.
Gives them health care, gives them benefits, lets them live.
Keeps veterans from going homeless, keeps veterans from becoming addicts, keeps veterans from committing suicide.
Senator Toomey's not going to hear that because he won't sit down with this man. Because he is a fucking coward.
Can he write speeches for the Democrats?
This is his reaction
please?
after the pass, though.
Please?
They're still so upset.
I want to see him debate.
Oh,
Just
Oh,
get on a
no one would
debate
debate him.
stage.
God, let him host the next debate.
No
please.
one would
I
debate
would
him.
love to see Jon Stewart run, but he's too smart to run.
Yeah, he
I
he
think
probably could do better the way he is.
I think a lot of people would vote for him immediately. I would.
Well-
I would. In the future, if Jon Stewart ran, I would have no problem voting for Jon Stewart. Honestly.
Yeah, but he's too smart to run. He's too
One
smart.
thing that I'm interested in is you look at someone like a Jon Stewart who obviously writer, actor, comedian, built his own career, empire, whatever, and is doing very good with it. This is someone that didn't choose to go into service in one way, but is now using what they built for themselves as a form of service in a way that we look at a Taylor Swift. She's taking what she gained and trying to get people. You look at other rich people, Green Day, right? They changed some lyrics and MAGA had kittens. So
but notice it's white people. The black people can't do that in the same way, and neither can LGBT people.
No. You guys
take a look at the kneeling, trying to bring out, what happens to black people that are unarmed and get killed.
So, and it's even more important then that you look at someone like a Jon Stewart who has the privilege, a Taylor Swift who has the privilege and is using it unabashedly. And when people attack them, they give them two fingers, one on each hand. So I'm interested in what that idea of service means going forward, because we spoke a little bit earlier about military recruitment and how there are natural ebbs and flows, but we also can't look at the context in which those, I'll say, ebbs occur. So you look at from 1980 to 2020, applicants and new enlisted are dropping dramatically. Now we look at a time in the 80s and 90s, I mean, maybe we still had this pseudo machismo, patriotic, we're going to serve Top Gun mentality. That doesn't exist anymore in the younger generations that have a deep passion to serve, but want to know what they're serving for, want to know what they're giving up, want to know not what they get back, but what is their service worth to the people that they're serving. So one of the things that I was interested in is why youth today, who, by the way, are turning out to vote in ridiculous numbers, who are affecting elections, these are the next group of people that will be serving if they choose to serve. Why do they not want to serve? Is it possibility of physical injury, of death? Of course, that's probably one of the largest reasons people don't want to serve. Emotional, psychological issues. We're starting to get into things, leaving friends and family. I'm sure that's always been an issue, but nowadays, I'm not sure if people are willing to take that risk. Other career
too long of a commitment.
Exactly. Too long of a commitment. Possible of interference with college education. That means that they're not afraid to get an education and serve. They don't want to serve now at a certain time when they'd rather get a different type of an education. Don't believe they would qualify. Possibility of sexual harassment. The fact that anyone is afraid of sexual harassment is a way of blocking their service is terrifying. But I think it's pretty obvious that not just cis people are afraid of being sexually assaulted. There are plenty of people afraid to just be themselves. That's why we had to repeal a don't ask, don't tell. That's why we need protections. That's why we need to redefine what dishonorable discharge really means. Diana, I would love your opinion on what do you see the state of enlistment in a future where a different generational mentality is going to affect why people do what they do with their lives?
Well, one, we have to take a look at the healthcare of our veterans, because that's the biggest fear, right? Is how our veterans are treated when they get out. And we need to, why does a senator, a congressman have universal health care
for life
and our veterans don't? At least our veterans don't. The people who are willing to give a senator isn't giving their life away for what they believe in. We certainly know that the traitor Trump isn't Captain Bone Spurs. So we have to make sure that our veterans are taken care of. That will increase the outlook of serving your country. Top notch, right there. Just taking care of our veterans when they get home.
Perfect.
Making sure there's a easy transition from going from service to back to civilian life.
Definitely.
There should be a time before you get out where you actually get off the base and get back into civilian world. Maybe even still being your last 6 months, you're still enlisted, but you get a job at the mall or
almost a halfway house for retransitioning.
Yes, a transitional thing. This way you can get reaccustomed to it. but those are ideas. But that's the big thing. That'll take those top
I think there also
things
needs
that
to
you had
be.
on your graphic off.
I think it definitely needs to be mental, because a lot of younger generation, they're mental health aware.
Well, they just lived through COVID
Yes.
and everyone lost their minds, myself included. We have a
Right,
generation of mental
and I
health
think a lot of
crisis.
people are worried about their mental health going through the military, because the military is not, boot camp and all training and shit. That's not
Yeah.
fun for the most part.
Well,
I mean,
I thought
it's
it was a
brutal.
blast.
I mean, I
Well,
did too.
but I mean,
Until
you
I
have
almost drowned during training. Then after that, I wasn't too happy about
But
it.
Jeremy, what you're saying makes sense. You know, you have a generation of people who understand that shell shock, pull it up by your bootstraps, is not the way you deal with people who just suffered the traumas
and
of
the
service war.
cover-ups.
Yeah,
and covering up the mistakes that have been made.
Of course.
You're right,
The other thing we need to bring attention to is that today's military, 90% of it isn't even firing a weapon. It's
Drones.
helping
Right.
the other parts of the military. You know,
Right, the support, the
90% of our
logistics part of it.
military is non-combat nowadays.
Yeah, supplies, logistics.
Well, okay,
you
there's an
plan-
interesting
all that
question.
stuff.
We are obviously, people like to pretend it's science fiction, but it's clearly not. We're entering a phase of mechanized warfare that is going from just whatever that word used to mean to might actually meaning giant mechs and robots. Like, we're not as far off as we were.
Here comes
20
Terminator.
Years ago. I mean, we have drones. Most of our missile strikes are done by someone sitting somewhere using a remote control,
In
and that's
Nevada,
amazing.
yeah.
But now, here's an interesting question. When do we see the military accept that we may not need as much enlisted as we used to, because the nature of the service might not need as many boots on the ground to just march forward towards a place?
That's why you go and talk to a recruiter. You go and talk to a recruiter, they will always tell you what their the amount of people they have to get. And the amount of people that they have to get is actually quite a low number. So when you're seeing those ebbs and flows, even though enlistment is down, it's actually just a little bit above where it needs to be, or a little bit lower above where it needs to be, because
you don't overstaff. What are you going to do with people?
Right. And like in the
figure something out
service,
for you. Trust me,
a lot of
these
these jobs are overstaffed anyways. So trying where you're going to get the bonuses and stuff is where they need people.
Right. Yeah, they didn't
So like the nuke program or intelligence or these specialized areas, but to just have someone go in as a grunt, they don't really need that. Or a boatswain's mate.
It's funny you say that.
Those areas are overdone.
A good friend of mine, he's an engineer, an electrical engineer, and him and I disagree on the full intent of this next phrase, but I agree in principle to it that the world isn't always going to need ditch diggers. It's going to need people to design ditch digging robots. So I think a lot of the future of the military is getting kids who are going to high schools where there's robotics programs, there's coding programs. We're going to start seeing these highly technical, almost way more scientific educational bases looking to join the military. And I think that's almost going to go hand in hand with the way the military is changing and how war is being waged.
Well, it's like when I worked at a Ford Motor Company, you know, when I started at Ford Motor Company, there was 3,500 people working at the Buffalo stamping plant. Now there's about 400 people working at the Buffalo stamping plant. And it's still putting out the same amount of production because technology changes. And you know, our military technology is always ahead of the civilian world.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What anyone said, it's always ahead. Like Trump's always saying, our military.
I've said that before, too.
2/3 of our tax money go to the military. And out of that money, about, I would even say 1/10 of that goes to our active duty people. Another 10th goes to maintaining our military. The rest all goes to research and development.
R&D.
I was going to say weapons development. A lot of those weapons don't even get used.
That don't even go anywhere.
They're used to learn how to make
Take a look at the Bradley tank. It's the biggest. I mean, they did a movie on it, on how bad the Bradley tank was made, because it's made out of aluminum, and if it got hit, the people survived, but they die from poisonous gas inside it.
Oh, wonderful.
The fuel tanks were on the outside, which would help blow it up. They ended up putting a turret on it. It was supposed to carry a whole platoon of people, and it ended up only being able to carry
Who
6
made
by
it?
10.
Like,
So wait a minute, wait.
Daewoo.
Now here's the
Designed
question:
by Daewoo.
which is the biggest military design flop, the Abrams tank or the Osprey? And I don't mean to make a joke of it, because the Osprey has probably killed more enlisted people than
Reagan's
the Abrams
Star
tank.
Wars program.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Please, thank you.
The
All
person
right,
who's ruined this country the most, Reagan.
We could have you know what? Maybe we're gonna have an episode on that. You're gonna join us for that.
All right, so a couple of minutes we have left. I do want to talk about Trump and his blatant disrespect for military in general. So I'm gonna play this video where he mocks John McCain, and I'm gonna show John McCain's daughter's response on Twitter.
He's not a war hero. He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured.
I gave him the kind of funeral that he wanted, which as president I had to approve. I wasn't a fan of John McCain.
I figured there would be a chance that I would catch it. Sometimes I'd be in groups of, for instance, Gold Star families. They come within an inch of my face sometimes. They want to hug me and they want to kiss me.
What sacrifice have you made for your country? I think I've made a lot of sacrifices. I work very, very hard. I've created thousands and thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs.
A man came up to me and he handed me his Purple Heart. And I said, man, that's like big stuff. I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier.
Much of which wasn't even on camera, like the reporting that Donald Trump called fallen troops, quote, suckers and losers, or his instruction to Mark Milley, then the top general of the United States, to not bring wounded veterans to public events. Trump's own public suggestion just last year that Milley should be executed, or the fact that it took him 2 days and lots of public pressure to lower the White House flags after John McCain's death.
Unbelievable.
I always wanted a Purple Heart.
You can say fuck Trump, please. Yeah. And then what was the time he was talking about, like a veteran went up to him and told him like the bravest thing, he was like a wounded.
I went to a hospital once where there was a wounded veteran, and he wouldn't even go into the room. He wouldn't even go into the. And this was right after he got blasted for the veterans are losers and everything. So he purposely went with his wife to the hospital. His wife went in, but Trump wouldn't go into the room.
I think we all need to give. I'm going to try something here. Trump.
Traitor.
Okay, we need to give him a little bit of credit.
It's involuntary. It's like a reflex.
Yeah, I know. That's what I wanted to test. We have to give him a slight credit because I think this was missed. And when he was asked, what has he sacrificed? Well, he created a lot of jobs. What the fuck?
He did a lot of
what does that even mean?
Jobs are definitely being created because of him.
What does that even mean?
Here,
anyway,
let me show Meghan McCain, because he recently did a speech where he's making fun. He's like, he's making fun of John McCain, like, he couldn't vote for it because he couldn't lift his arms high enough. That's basically what Donald Trump was saying because of his injury, obviously. But that was the joke he made on the speech. Exactly. So Meghan McCain went on to Twitter. My dad was an American hero, an icon, a patriot that will be remembered throughout history. I cannot buy a bagel without someone approaching me about how much they love and miss them. Trump is a piece of shit, election-denying huckster whose own wife won't campaign with him. I
got to tell you,
fan of the McCains.
I need to make that to a T-shirt.
You won me over a little bit with that tweet.
I don't agree with anything policy-wise with her, but man,
no,
I agree with that sentiment 100%.
Same here. I have always known John McCain is a hero. I didn't agree with his politics. I wouldn't have voted for him. But if I saw the man, I would absolutely want to shake his hand and salute him.
Right. You have to respect what he gave to the military.
That man is an amazing man. He could have come home. I think it was 2 years before he came home. He refused to leave because his men weren't leaving.
Right. He couldn't live with himself. He said he wouldn't be able to.
And that's also why he can't raise his arms, because they ended up tying his arms above his head because he refused to leave. And
that's something called honor, something that Donald Trump has no fucking clue what it means.
Well, most of these MAGA idiots that didn't serve, and even a few of them that have, they don't know what they're going to do when they get into these situations. Like, I know what I'm going to do when I'm in a hurricane on board a ship and the ship gets a 3.5-foot crack in the ship's hull. I know I'm going to run towards the trouble. I know if there's a fire, I'm going to run towards the fire because I've already had those instances. These people who say they're going to, stop a school shooting. Right.
Yeah.
You haven't ever been shot at or anything else.
Yeah,
you're full of shit.
I know they all are. So, but that's about it for me. That's pretty much all the material that we have. Do you have any closing thoughts, Diana, before we get out of here?
Just thank you for the honor of being part of your podcast. You guys do a really good job. I've caught you guys a few times, and the honor is mine. Trust me, and thank you for your service, Jeremy, and thank you for what you do, Mike. It's been a real honor, and tell your voters we gotta keep democracy going. It's fragile, and if this traitor gets into office, I don't care if it's a rock. Vote for it over this traitorous
right? Because I think the rock would do less.
I don't care if Joe Biden passes away tomorrow. Vote for his corpse. We gotta put an energize. Zap him a couple times.
They could do a weekend at Bernie's with him.
Exactly. I don't care.
Ike and I will volunteer. We'll be on each side of Biden.
I'll do it.
We'll just drag his ass.
Be my honor.
And the funny conspiracy theorists are always like, deep state with Democrats, and they're stupid and they couldn't get away with crap, and yet we somehow got rid of all the evidence and rigged an election, and we're running things behind the scenes.
We are really good at what
blah
we do,
blah
apparently.
blah. Screw you. You don't know. I love these guys who always say, "Well, I got the top secret information from somebody."
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure,
I had
you
top
did.
secret clearance when I was in the service, and there's still stuff I can't say.
Yep.
And let me tell you,
exactly.
even if I knew what the hell they were talking about, I still can't talk about it. I'm sure you had some stuff when you were in, Jeremy, because there's always something where they go, "Okay, you can't talk about this," and you're like, "What?" Exactly. And you know what?
Okay. You're like, when you ask them why, they're just like, you can't. They don't explain why. You're like, all right.
You don't need to know why. Well, that's a need to know basis.
All right, Diana. Thanks for being on the show. I hope to have you on again in the future.
Anytime.
We got to get like Karen or even Liz on here. Maybe we could do like a 5-person episode one of these days.
Remember, it's always good luck to have a spare tranny around. So.
Just in case.
I did not know that. But I'm glad we know that now.
Well, that's what's wrong with my scooter when I'm on it. It's got a broken tranny on it.
I see what you did there.
Words to live by. All right. Well,
just remember, tranny is a word that we're allowed to use. You guys can't. I love the word. A lot of people don't.
I am all for that list. Someone give me the list of words that I could watch others appreciate, but I have to stand back. I'm okay with that.
You'll never get the list because you have to say the word in order to get
Oh, man.
You have to be... we don't get the...
Well, I'm glad to know. That.
We want the inside intel, though. Come on, man. We need like the inside information.
It's general top secret. It's not top secret.
All right.
It's in Trump's bathroom, written on the wall.
All right. Well, Diana, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna put you backstage. Don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you for a couple minutes after the show.
Sure.
And Mike.
What up?
Any last thoughts before we get out of here? That was a fun show. I'm glad we got to talk about veterans and the general mistreatment.
I'm glad it was a much happier show than I somehow envisioned. Like
I did think it was going to be a lot more doom and gloom, but it was definitely a lot more fun.
That had to do with Diana having just like the most fun attitude to talk about ridiculous stuff. With. Look, I've never served. I'm never going to serve. I'm old and broken. I have grandfathers that have served. I have other people in my family, my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, and I have the utmost respect for people who serve. But I got to tell you, you have to serve this country first and not yourself. Right. Please vote and make sure Donald Trump does not get in control of our military, because he will grind them into fucking dust.
Yeah, you want to serve the country in a better way than going into the military? Vote against Donald Trump next year.
That could be your act of service. save the
Yeah,
democracy.
you want to save democracy. That would be on the right side of history, because this will be a historical election this year.
Yep.
Because it could be the fall of democracy. I hope not. I don't think so. I think it'll hold, but
I do.
We got a long way to go between now and then. So thank you everybody for watching. It was really, actually, yeah, like you said, it was a more upbeat show than I thought, because a lot of these topics, when you put them together, you're like, damn, this is going to be hard to talk about.
Yep.
But somehow it always comes together. So yeah, we appreciate everybody watching the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe, tell your friends, share the feed, all that good stuff. We can't grow without your support.
Play it on military bases.
That's right. We will be back on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And we're back on schedule for 3 shows a week.
Yep.
So we will be back on track. Other than that, everybody have a good evening. And we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully you're not in Buffalo with Diana with 3.5 feet. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. We'll talk.